about logistics. So what you see on the screen is the agenda. Without further ado, I would like to call on to the floor Mr. Patrick Moriarty, who's the chair of the steering committee, to give us his opening remarks. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayatwa. And yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are in the world. What a pleasure to be together as we enter this final phase of preparation for the 2025 Sector Ministers meeting. We've reached a critical milestone. We've been doing this for 6 months, and now we have 1 month to go before we meet in Madrid. And we're doing that, I don't need to tell you, in a time of polycrisis, characterized by global shifts in politics and power, and shifts that in the end, we all need to remember, are experienced by people, by individual women, men, children, their families and communities. They're the ones who face the brunt of the change and uncertainty in climate, in economics, in security. Uncertainties that lead to fundamental and existential questions for all of our lives. Can we access safe water services as the climate changes? Can our sanitation services work? Can we deliver them to everyone in the face of floods? Can the natural systems on which we all rely remain resilient in the face of climate chaos? And above all, do we have the political will and the strong political leadership to identify and harmonize solutions to the problems we face? And we all know there are many potential and actual solutions to better integrating water, sanitation, climate. We live in times of dizzying technological change. Yet implementation isn't easy. If it were, we'd already be doing it. If it were, we wouldn't be having to have our meeting. But we're faced by barriers to effective action, and particularly in our siloed way of working, where individual sectors and ministries pursue goals that aren't always aligned. Silos that are created by multiple factors, historical, political, silos that are reinforced by constraints and inefficiencies in the way our institutions and resources are organized and utilized. And these silos and barriers are part of the greater human challenge around what I call systems blindness. And systems blindness is our inability, or perhaps our unwillingness, to see, to understand, to engage with the complex networks of people and finance and infrastructure and nature that lie behind the services we take for granted. The tap from which water flows when we turn it. The toilet that mysteriously removes our waste when we flush it. And breaking down these barriers, removing the systems blindness, and creating true systems leadership is what this Sector Ministers meeting is all about. And we capture that in its title, Breaking Silos, Uniting Political Leadership for Integrating Water, Sanitation and Climate. And in saying that, I'd also emphasize that this Sector Ministers meeting doesn't stand alone. It's part of a unique process of political dialogue that Sanitation and Water for All, our partnership, has been nurturing since its inception, aimed at putting a spotlight on the root causes of barriers to progress, on identifying solutions, and on bringing our partnership of nearly 500 diverse organizations together behind government leadership to act effectively and collectively, tracking the progress we make on the milestones we collectively agree to. So in this last preparatory meeting, you're going to hear more about the agenda, the logistical information, and the processes for our Sector Ministers meeting. Most importantly, you're going to hear from partners about the work they've done since April when we launched the process. You'll also hear expressions of our collective aspirations, our ambitions, what it is we want to achieve together in Madrid and beyond. Because, as I said, the SMM isn't a one-off event. It's a milestone in an ongoing process. One where the preparatory work that we're doing now and have been doing for the last 6 months in country is as important as the meeting itself. And of course, where the follow-up is equally, and the actions that we agree to following the meeting are equally important. And as well as leading to collective action in SWA partner countries, the outcomes of this SMM will feed into crucial global processes, to COP30 in Belém, as well as to the 2026 UN Water Conference, among others. And so with this as background, I'd particularly like to urge all of you to work actively with your ministers and heads of agencies to support the preparatory process for the SMM, and in particular, to highlight its key output, the Leaders' Compact on Water Security and Resilience. You'll hear more about this document in the webinar, but I'd like to invite you to already think about how you'll mobilize the support of your ministers and heads of agencies to ensure that they sign up to it, and we can use it as a global compact that will unite the voice of the water and sanitation sector in our work towards heads of state and government and crucial global processes. Last week, I had the great pleasure to be in Madrid together with the leadership of our excellent SWA Secretariat, where we were warmly welcomed by our colleagues in the government of Spain. While we still have work to do, I'm happy to say that our hosts are extremely well motivated, mobilized, and engaged in the process. And I want to emphasize how grateful I am on behalf of all of our partnership to the government of Spain and Miteco for hosting this meeting. This is the first we'll ever have held in a rich northern country. I'm also grateful to UNICEF, the host of our partnership and co-convener of the sector ministers meeting, and of course to all of you, the partners who have been working with the Secretariat to bring us this far. With more than 60 ministers confirmed, I emphasize the success of this meeting will not be measured only in how many ministers we manage to bring together, but in the actions that you and they commit to undertaking once you return home. This collective action and systems leadership is what will enable us to break silos and make real progress that improves the lives of real people. I therefore look forward to today's webinar, to the examples we'll be hearing from, and also to seeing the ministers and all of you in Madrid. And I'm looking forward to an excellent, exciting, and groundbreaking sector ministers meeting. Thank you very much, and back to you, Miatwa.
Thank you so much, Patrick. It was indeed a pleasure to join you in Madrid last week and to work with the government of Spain to prepare for this meeting. And I'm really honored to invite to the floor Josefina Maestu, who is Senior International Water Advisor in the Water Directorate of the Ministry of Miteco in the government of Spain. So, Josefina, over to you to give us your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Shitali. Many thanks to Patrick for his inspiring and kind words. We are doing as much as we can, no, to ensure that this meeting is a great success and it lasts. So the government of Spain is delighted to welcome all of you, the delegates and partners of Sanitation and Water for All, to Madrid on the 22nd and 23rd of October of the 2025 to the sector's ministers meeting. This gathering will bring together all of us, leaders and communities from around the world, for a common purpose that Patrick has talked about, to break up the silos and strengthen political leaderships on water resources management, water and sanitation services, and climate action. So a difficult goal, and we are all committed to make this a success. We believe this is a milestone for collective progress, ensuring that the realities of children, families, and communities help to shape the global agenda. So we want to make this a place where the voices of everybody are heard. So Spain warmly encourages every government and partner to continue the preparation process, as Patrick has mentioned, and share their country overviews. These overviews show your political commitment, innovation, and the efforts for overcoming challenges, which is so important. The overviews are important because they are the base for the exchanges during the conference, for fostering new ideas during the 2 days of the meeting in Madrid, and especially during the ministerial dialogues. The ministerial dialogues are a very important part of the meeting because it is here where we would be open to discussion, to sharing experiences, to looking at obstacles and how we are overcoming them, and importantly, about our ambitions. Without ambitions, political ambitions, we will not get anywhere. This theme of the theme of this year is breaking the silos, uniting political leadership for water, sanitation, and climate action. And breaking the silos is only possible with collaboration and cooperation in government, within different levels of government, and also with the organizations in the countries. Ministers are invited not only to take part of the discussions like we always do, but also to endorse the high-level leaders compact that Patrick was mentioning on water security and resilience. This is more than a signature. It's a pledge to citizens, to future generations, and to the planet itself. By joining the compact, countries demonstrate leadership, contribute to a global movement, and place water and sanitation firmly at the heart of climate resilience as we look ahead to the COP30 and the 2026 United Nations Water Conference. Our hope as hosts is that the impact of the discussions in Madrid will extend well beyond the 2 days of the conference. They will be strengthen international priorities, inspire national actions, and amplify the voices of those who must be heard most urgently. Through mechanisms as the mutual accountability mechanism, commitments will remain visible and measurable, ensuring sustained progress. We have seen that when we align water resources management, water and sanitation services provision, and climate priorities with investment strategies, we are helping our economies, and we are building healthier, more resilient societies from rural villages to major cities. Spain is honored to host this important ministerial meeting. Let us ensure that this meeting in Madrid becomes a bridge to the important COP30 and the UN 2026 conference, anchored in solidarity, shared responsibilities, and a collective determination to guarantee the human rights to water and sanitation for every person, everywhere, and always. Spain has always been committed and has been one of the leaders of the water and sanitation human rights to water. We look forward to welcoming you all in Madrid. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Josefina. That's a very inspiring and welcoming. Also, looking forward to being in Madrid next month. And we're grateful to all the preparations that are taking place. You're encouraging us to continue working on the preparatory process with the country overviews, and also encouraging us to take the outcomes of this preparatory process into serious smart commitments that we can implement. Between both you and Patrick, I think we get a really good overview of what we should be doing now to finalize the preparatory process. At this moment, I am delighted to invite to the floor my colleague Anjani Kapoor, who's the head of policy, accountability and results in the Secretariat. She will speak to us about the agenda of the meeting and also some additional information about the content to just help with the preparations. Anjani, over to you.
Thank you, Setali, and thank you so much, Patrick and Josefina, for those inspiring words. And we look forward to having our partners in Madrid next month. So let's look at what we will be discussing at the meeting on those 2 days. Next slide, please, Kevin. So this year's theme for the sector ministers meeting, as Josefina mentioned and Patrick mentioned, is around breaking silos. So we are trying to reflect on a critical challenge. How do we talk and work closely with our sister sectors in times of intersecting crises. Because traditionally, water and sanitation services and programming has focused on public health and housing policies. But with evolving climate risks and resource pressures, especially on water, demand a more integrated and systems-wide approach, which Patrick also referred to earlier. The advocacy around human rights to water and sanitation, which is the partnership's key focus, is of course foundational to this theme of breaking sectoral silos, uniting political leadership for water, sanitation, and climate action. And this time when we are talking about water, we are talking about all aspects of water. So when we are focusing on human rights to water and sanitation, which we believe would be the cross-cutting discussions across this theme, it means that we are talking about ensuring services that are universally accessible, safe, affordable, culturally appropriate, and we will also talk about how these rights can be embedded into climate adaptation and resource management frameworks. This theme, as it directly responds to increasing climate-related shocks and how it disrupts the water cycle and threatens progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, which we are 5 years away from the deadline. We aim to have a line of sight between the sector ministers meeting, but the ongoing milestones internationally, starting with the financing for development, which happened in Sevilla, but also linking it to the upcoming COP, and for next year, the UN Water Conference. Next slide, please. As the theme of the sector ministers meeting goes beyond just water and sanitation services, SWA Secretariat has prepared 2 micro briefing notes to support the national preparation efforts. The first briefing note on the left side of your screen explains how global climate and finance frameworks like the Paris Agreement, Sendai framework on disaster risk management, and financing for development outcomes can be used as tools by ministers to align national water and sanitation policies with broader international processes. This engagement can help the sector ministers unlock climate financing, improve cross-sector collaboration, and ensure that water and sanitation are prioritized within wider climate and development goals. The second micro briefing highlights how the sector ministers meeting this year can act as a political springboard and a key platform to strengthen political leadership, connecting water, sanitation, and climate action in the lead up to, as I said, when we were discussing the theme, to COP30 and to UN Water Conference. So we've prepared these micro briefings, and we hope that they can offer strategic insights and can be used as practical tools for the ministers, but also for the development partners who are joining this national preparatory process to drive resilient, integrated national policies aligned with emerging global trends on financing and other funding opportunities. And we will share the links to these, both these micro briefings in the chat, but also in the follow-up to the webinar. Next slide, please. Now, as most of you know, but I'm happy to discuss this more, the sector ministers meeting is a 2-day setup. So the first day is on 22nd of October and day 2 is on 23rd of October. So we'll start with looking at day 1 first. But this 2-day setup follows a plenary, which introduces the 2 ministerial dialogues. And then we will close with a small or like a short discussion on the mutual accountability mechanism. And we will, so as we were discussing about the integrated agenda and the theme, the day 1 will talk about how can we achieve that integration through policies and strategies. And when we look at day 2, we will discuss how we will be looking at the second objective of the meeting, which is on catalyzing systems reform and financing. And we will also look at the implementation through heads of state initiative. Let's go back to the last slide quickly, Kevin, on day 1. So as I was saying, day 1 will focus on integration of policies. The For that, the meeting will be inaugurated by the government of Spain, setting the scene as to why it is critical for us to talk about this integrated agenda. And then we will have SWA Global Leadership Council member, a former head of state, and our co-convener joining with the keynote segment in the agenda. And the first plenary will talk about accelerating the integration of policies and strategies, promoting cross-sectoral collaboration, and building capacities to break down silos between water, sanitation, hygiene, water resource management, and climate action. And it will be followed by 2 ministerial dialogues. And then, as I said, we will wrap up with a 30-minute highlight of on mutual accountability mechanism, because it is interesting for you to know, and we have produced another micro briefing on this, that our partners are already following this integrated agenda from the perspective of water, sanitation services, and climate action. Many countries like Uganda, Nigeria, Liberia have commitments around it, also Peru, and we would love to highlight those commitments in that section. Next slide, please. Now, day 2 will deepen these discussions further, and will take the lens of coordinated sector reform, as I was saying earlier, and sustainable financing. What we are looking at is identifying concrete pathways for delivering resilient services, enhancing accountability, but also looking at scaling up inclusive financing mechanisms and take an integrated approach around that. There will again be, the structure will be the same. We'll have a scene setting plenary. The first ministerial dialogue will focus heavily on financing, and the second ministerial dialogue will focus on the implementation through heads of state initiative, recognizing the catalytic role of these initiatives in achieving integrated water, sanitation, and hygiene and climate agendas. We will wrap up the day with the launch of the High-Level Leaders Compact on Water Security and Resilience. That's going to be the closing plenary. And then we will have official closing by the government of Spain. What you can see is the agenda. It is ready. We are happy to share that in the chat and also in the follow-up to the webinar. Next slide, please. Now let's look at the ministerial dialogues, because as you know, these are the heart of the sector ministers meeting, and they feature this interactive, in-depth discussion among ministers, their peers, and they also include contributions from other development partners and high-level stakeholders. These ministerial dialogues will be held as usual under the Chatham House rules, and they will blend high-level strategy discussions along with some practical knowledge exchange, which is vital for national level implementation and local ownership. We'll have 6 rooms at the venue for each ministerial dialogue. So we have 4 ministerial dialogues, 2 ministerial dialogues on day 1, 2 ministerial dialogues on day 2, and we will have and they will happen simultaneously or in parallel across 6 rooms. Every ministerial dialogue room will have 8 to 10 ministers who will share their country experience. This dialogue will be moderated by a sector expert, and after the ministers have intervened, 2 resource people from non-government constituencies or partners will intervene to present their messages, and we would really appreciate if those messages could be substantiated by a solution and partnership offered to the ministers and other actors in the room. Towards the end of each ministerial dialogue, the 3rd resource person in the ministerial dialogue room will present a proposed solution document, which we are working on, so that we wrap up the discussion with the solutions, and then the moderator will close. And these are the numbers we are looking at in terms of engagement from these many ministers and actors throughout the ministerial dialogues. Next slide, please. Kevin, thank you. Now, as I said, when I was presenting the agenda, on day 2, we will launch the High-Level Leaders Compact on water security and resilience. This is the outcome document of the sector ministers meeting. And for the first time, we would want our partners to come together, because that's the beauty of the partnership, to influence the country actors, but also work alongside ministers to have this document signed. So what is this High-Level Leaders Compact? It is a high-level political commitment document, which I said we would want it to be endorsed by the ministers and the leaders at the sector ministers meeting. This document serves as a shared endorsement to accelerate integrated action on universal access to climate resilient water, sanitation and hygiene services, alongside sustainable water resource management and financing. So this document, so the meeting will culminate in the launch of this document, and this endorsement will support the partners in strategic follow-up to the sector ministers meeting. And this compact will also guide partnerships effort from 2025 onwards, providing clear strategic direction and strengthening accountability. It builds on and amplifies the momentum generated by the existing Heads of State initiative, encouraging more countries to adopt their own presidential or prime ministerial compacts at the national level, so that a whole of the government approach can be embraced to push forward this integrated agenda. Next slide, please. Let's look at how many ministers we have confirmed so far. And of course, this is an evolving list, right? We have 56 ministers confirmed as of today from 42 different countries, but we also have other high-level confirmations, which I have written on the right side of the screen at the bottom, for instance, from Slovenia, from Finland, but this is, of course, an evolving list and shows the convening power of the partnership. Next slide, please. This is how we will have the numbers on the constituencies, the non-government constituencies, with 13 from the civil society, 6 each from private sector and utilities and regulators, 9 from research and learning, and we will also have some youth delegates there who will support us in various ministerial dialogues as well. Next slide, please. And this, we've zoomed in a little bit into the ministerial confirmation, showing which minister holds environment portfolio, water and sanitation portfolio, and health portfolio. This helps us actually to push forward with the integration agenda so that we have the right ministers in the room, and then we have this ongoing advocacy at the national level when partners go back from Madrid. So back to you, Sitali, and that's it from my side. If there are any questions, I will look at the chat. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, Anjani. I appreciate that. There is one question in the chat from Timothy. Is there any possibility for a joint CSO's call to action at the meeting? We'll see if there is any other question just before we can get to the next presentation. And I think it would be good for us to already respond to the question from Timothy. So do you want to take that?
Timothy, great question. There are 2 ways to do it. First is it would be great for you to be working with the constituency lead, who's Bella. And I know that there is a joint declaration being prepared by the civil society that will, of course, be shared on all the communication channels of SWA, but we will take it forward. And of course, this is in the run-up to the meeting, the coming 4 weeks. But at the meeting, we'll have a civil society panelist who can deliver some of these messages during the plenary. And the second way to do it is civil society actors who are resource people in the ministerial dialogue can also deliver some of these messages. And we would appreciate, as I said, that those messages come with solutions. For instance, if you're talking about the disaster risk management, then you can say, you can talk about community participation in early systems warning, but you can also talk about how and if there is any country example like that. But of course, this is a very niche example I've given. You can generally talk about civil society participation in the integrated agenda. It would be good to have some examples around it. So these are 3 ways to amplify and disseminate the messages from civil society, but also from other constituencies as well. I hope that helps, Timothy.
Thank you, Anjani, and thanks, Timothy. And Timothy, you must already have received also the Dear Minister letters, which are letters that can help support the engagement at country level between civil society and the government. And just to reiterate Anjani's point that we're also keen that these messages also come from different constituencies at the meeting in the different opportunities that constituencies will have to speak. I do not see any other questions, so we will move to some country examples, and thanks, Anjani, for elaborating that. If there are additional questions about the ministerial dialogues, about the different plenaries, please put those in the chat. For now, we'll move to showcasing some of the country experiences so far, and I'm delighted to call to the floor Mrs. Elizabeth Ugo, who is the Director of Water Quality Control from the sanitation, from the Federal Ministry for Water Resources and Sanitation in Nigeria. Nigeria will be represented at the sector ministers meeting by Honorable Joseph Utsev, who's the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation. And pleased to pass the floor to you, Mrs. Ugo.
Thank you so much, Sitali. And we are also grateful for this opportunity given to Nigeria to showcase our preparatory process for this sector ministers meeting for the year 2025. Just as you said, the preparation for Nigeria too has started at various levels from April. We've been having engagement with our partners. And our partners here, we're talking about the government, the CSOs, development partners, as well as regulators and then the private sector. We've had several meetings with them. We've had about, that's the partners now, about 45. We've been having this engagement with them. And we've had, particularly the very key one was we had the partners workshop on the 17th of August, where partners were there and in looking at the different thematic areas, depending also on their constituents, to be able to review what we have done, looking at the country's commitments and what the gaps are and what we need to do next. And we've also had 2 bilaterals with the SWA Secretariat to be able to go through the thematic areas and what is expected for us to do, just to give us the better understanding of what is expected, looking at the country assessment, and to be able to do that right correctly. Then we've also, for our commitments, the revised MAM, the accountability mechanism, we've looked at our commitments, and the revisions we have done, we are looking at it from the side of the government and the CSOs. These are the commitments that we have been able to now revise, and we have new commitments from the government. We are looking at focusing on coordination and addressing inequality in access to wash services. While from the CSOs, the social, from the CSOs, we are looking at focusing now on advocacy for climate integration, monitoring and enhancing accountability. While other constituents are still reviewing, like the private sector, we are hoping that very soon we'll get their own new commitments. We'll revise and then we'll get to know. Then from all the processes we have engaged in, and we'll be able to also, particularly for this workshop, we had appreciate UNICEF for hosting that workshop. We're able to give us a space to come together as a group and review our country, do our country assessment. Then the learnings and outcomes from all this process, we see that the learning from the country assessment process, we need, we realize that at the federal level, the translating to this subnational is not the same. Like, for instance, you talk about the coordination at the federal level, you see it strongly, but at the subnational, we don't see this. So that is part of what we have noticed, brought out as our learnings. And also the across, we need to do more across the 3 objectives or the thematic areas that we reviewed. Then we also have some gaps which we noticed from this review workshop that we had. And the workshops, what we brought out was that there were gaps in the coordination, like I said, at the subnational levels. We had also limited evidence-based planning. You know, we have the evidence, but are we using this evidence to do our plannings? These are limited. Then there's also limited financing, especially for sanitation and hygiene. Over the years, looking at our wash account, we see that there are some increase, but the increase in the financing does not really show or does not really bring out any strong impact that you will notice a difference. So there's also we found a limitation in the financing, which is a general problem now, as we say, for the country. Then there's also limited data on inequality in access to wash services. We have it some in our reports, but when we come to the target setting for this access, we don't have such. And this is what we are hoping we will work on as we revise our WASH policy. Then also the successes we can see is integration of WASH in a climate document like the National Adaptation Plan and the National Determined Contribution. We also have some the WASH climate management plan, which we have some documents integrating climate change into WASH, and then the development of the compendium on climate resilience WASH designs, because we have noticed that the effects of climate affecting some of the WASH facilities, and so we now have the design that is for WASH facilities that is climate resilient. Then we are hoping that at the end of all this, the expected outcome, what we will see and be working with, that will be the impact we are hoping will make, is to have an enhanced subnational coordination and also to reduce inequality in access to WASH facilities. That's having to, like you're talking about the vulnerables and the women, to see them that we have the target and we monitor this and know really what they have instead of lumping them all together. Thank you so much. This is the process and our key findings from our process and outcomes in Nigeria. Once again, I thank you for giving us this opportunity. Over.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ugo. This is very inspiring. Really good to see the work bringing together many partners. I was taking note of how many partners you've had involved, but also it's really good to see the successes that you are noticing, the integration already of water and sanitation and hygiene and climate documents, and also the things that you would like to do going forward. That this meeting is helping to sort of put a spotlight on those things. So really appreciate that. We'll move quickly. If you have a question for Mrs. Ugo, please put that in the chat. We'll move quickly to Cambodia to also get their experience. And I'd like to invite to the floor our second speaker from our second government speaker, Soka Deva Shatet, from the Ministry of from the Ministry for Rural Development in Cambodia. Soka, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mitali. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to present about the preparation process for the minister meeting. Yes, please go to my slide presentation. Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, we hear you very well.
Okay. No, this one is not the first slide actually.
This one is Nigeria. Yes. Just give us a second.
No, not this one.
Soka, do you have yours? Maybe we could just allow you to share the screen.
Okay.
Admin, could you give Soka the screen sharing, make her co-host?
I have the slides if you prefer. I can just share my
Yes,
screen.
you can put them up.
Give me a second.
Okay, Soka is starting to share her screen, so that's fine.
Okay, good.
Okay. So my screen is visible, right?
It's a
Okay. Yeah. I can share mine now.
okay. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. But
okay. All right. For Cambodia, for the minister meeting, we have prepared a lot, and we have a bilateral call between SWA and the government of Cambodia to explain about FMM. And as you may know, that country scale assessment is one part of the minister meeting preparation. So for Cambodia, country scale assessment is not the first. 2025 is not the first. That we have done. So we learned from the country assessment that we conducted in 2023. So for this year, I can say that it goes smoothly and faster than the previous year if you compare to the 2023. So so what we have done is that we have a meeting to prepare the work plan, a clear work plan, and budget estimate with SWA, and we have Philippa here that to have to facilitate the process, and we have UNICEF and Border Aid as well that to have in technical also the support in financial, and yeah, we just start in July, and then start workshop arrangement and send the invite to the participant before, especially the PSA the country assessment template with the concept note and the agenda by all the workshops, so that all the participants that will revise can familiar with the template before they come to the meeting. So meeting, we also have a several call before we conduct the workshop, and one last call meeting is on 8 September before the workshop, and for the finalize the agenda also for the arrangement for the workshop. And we have just conduct the country assessment on 11 September 2025. Yeah, and we have already engaged all stakeholders from different institutions, relevant institutions, from also from DP, NGO, and private sector. Yeah. And during the workshop, we also create the group Telegram to share document and the result of this PSA, also to further communication between the group, within the group. Yeah. Please go to next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the one to. Okay. So for the key learning and outcome, the learning from PSA process, I can say that the assessment reveals that Cambodia made a remarkable progress in increasing access to water and sanitation, particularly in the rural area. But the key learning center on the need that to be from a focus on coverage, also to focus on equity, quality, sustainability, and climate resilience as well. And we can identify some gaps, although there is significant progress, but equity gap remain. We can say that rural-urban divide, access to carefully manage, especially the access to carefully manage water and sanitation is significantly lower in rural area compared to urban centers. And regional disparity, remote provinces, especially those with ethnic minority population and difficult geography like in Mandaluyong, Ratnagiri, Pravia, like far behind the national average. And social economic gap, the poorest quantile of the population and vulnerable group, people with disability, indigenous community have disproportionately lower access if we compare to the national coverage. And we can see that the limited financing, especially for sanitation and hygiene, it is stated that 3% to 5% increase rate between 23 and 24, and for 25 to 25, the budget remains stable. And the challenge of moving from bad to safely managed service. While many households have latrine, backup sanitation, or water of backup water, the quality, safety, and reliability of this service are major concerns. So the next frontier is achieving safely managed services are defined by the FDG. Also, we have limited data on inequality and access to work service. What we have success is political will, the consistent high-level government commitment to making work a national priority. I can say that we have a platform that have a high-level ranking engaged in the work sector, like we have technical working group and we have a provincial working group, also the district working group as well. And effective partner, a strong collaborating model between the government, NGO like World Aid, IDE, and other, and development partner, World Bank, and the ADB, and market-based solution. We shifting from a pure subsidy model to approaches that stimulate local market and private involvement that lead to more sustainable growth. One more point is about community ownership. Referring to empowering community to be agent of their own change rather than passive recipient of aid. So what we expect, the outcome is that no child die from diarrhea. This is caused by poor work. Every person, regardless of income or local location, has reliable to fresh water and toilet, to a toilet that doesn't pollute the environment. Women and girls are not burdened with water collection and can participate fully in society. And work services continue to function year round, even in the face of climate change. That's all of my presentation. And if you have any question, you may ask or put in the chat. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Soka. This is very insightful. Like Nigeria, we see a really robust preparatory process that's also driven in a consultative engagement. And this is also leading to some very concrete ideas in terms of what you want to take as smart actions going forward. So really grateful for sharing that presentation and highlighting the impact of the preparatory process. Now, while governments lead our processes, the strength of our partnership also comes from the multi-stakeholder processes that it entails. Government is leading and bringing everybody else together. And so I would like at this moment to invite some representatives from some of the constituencies from different countries that have been involved in this process. Once again, if you've got a question for Mrs. Ugo, for Ms. Sokadeva, please do put those questions in the chat. At this point, I will invite Timothy Pei from Liberia, who will also share with us some of the experiences in the CSO perspective from Liberia to give us some perspectives on the preparatory process. Timothy, over to you.
Thank you, Sitali. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. So please bear with me as I'm currently in the field dedicating some water points that we are constructed. So Liberia, as you are aware, we experienced transition in recent years, and therefore the government has been busy with structuring new leadership, and civil society has been in the background supporting the government. So since March, we have started engagement with respect to the setup minister meeting. And so we were able to encourage and engage cross-section of partners, including government institutions. So we have 53 in terms of stakeholders engaged, and that include the government, international partners, our donors, civil society, the private sector, and the media. And then thanks to SWA, they have been pushing very hard there have been 3 bilateral meetings with SWA and the government. And interestingly, at a certain point where we noticed that the issue of political will was not forthcoming, we have to involve the WASH caucus, which is a very key component of our sector arrangement. In July of this year, we were able to, with support from UNICEF, we were able to convince a workshop around including water, sanitation, and hygiene into the NDC. And so that happened from July the 2nd to the 3rd. And as we speak now, we have been able to officially, for the first time, have WASH included in the NDC. With respect to the commitments, all of the past commitments, Liberia has not been doing very well in terms of implementation. And so the new government is now concentrating on keeping majority of those commitments, but adding additional 2 that would be the priority of this government. And that 2 has to do with the WASH Compact 2, the endorsement of the WASH Compact, and the establishment of the Water Resource and Environment Ministry. And we expect that to happen by 2026. So the meat of this ministerial meeting will be looking at that. And we're hoping that the president will endorse that the WASH Compact before the ministerial meeting. Next slide, please. All right. In terms of key learning, we experienced a little limited political leadership in achieving the 3 objectives of SWA. And then we also experienced that the active participation of civil society with the strong support from our international partners, the Water Aid, the UNICEF, and the SWA is actually pushing the progress with respect to the high-level commitment for national government. There are still limited coordination, most especially among national government institutions. We still have lack of limited national level M&E and WASH data management system. That is still a major challenge. The issue of financing still remains a serious challenge for our government. So for us as civil society, we are ensuring that is a very key commitment that we're going to make to engage our government. So in terms of sources, the NDC 3.0, we have included WASH, and that is capture on cross-cutting areas for the first time, and hoping that when we improve, add more value to climate change using WASH, the next NDC, we want to see WASH at the sector. The WASH Compact has been developed with support from SWA, the UNICEF. It is presently at the table of the president, awaiting the approval of that compact. In terms of expected outcomes, the issue of enhanced high-level political leadership is what is expected, and that is why the government is now focusing on a Ministry of Water and Environment. The issue of improved governance and coordination is a key focus for the government and all stakeholders. And then strengthening accountability is also another key focus of the government. And so before I end my presentation, we want to stress that for the other sector, the private sector, the civil society, our international partner commitments is still in progress. We are waiting to see the final commitment for national government so that the rest of the sector can tailor their commitment supporting the government overall commitment. Thank you so much for the opportunity given us.
Thank you, Timothy, and also delighted to indicate that Liberia will be represented by 3 ministers, Honorable Roland Lafayette, Honorable Wellington Bachu, and Honorable Josilia Tapla, representing the Ministry of Public Works and Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Development Planning. So really looking forward to Liberia's full participation at the meeting. So we're going to move now. We've heard from 2 governments. We've heard from CSO in Liberia. We will hear from Masood in Bangladesh, who will also give us perspectives of the preparatory process in Bangladesh. And Masood, over to you.
Thank you. Sitali, are you hearing?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I'm on the way back to the Dhaka from northern part of the country, and I think I like to inform you that the government delegation parts that will be shared by the UNICEF WASH specialist, Mr. Morinul Alam. After my one, I will finish very shortly. And second is that I am very pleased and I am very grateful to the SWA to nominate me as one of the speaker of this final SMA preparation process. Actually, next slide. Yeah, process I like to share. You know that I think we all know that the Bangladesh is the 7th most climatic vulnerable country in the world. So considering this, we are also giving the importance of CR WASH, the climate resilience WASH, and for this SMA preparation part, we actually started this from July, and from July 30th and 31st, we had a bilateral meeting with the Secretary of. I think you all know that Bangladesh is running, the interim government, but yeah, we are hopeful that by early next year the election will be held and the political government will be take place. Considering this, all the situations, actually, we sit with a government, that is the ministry, and also we engaged our local government secretary, and we sit with him on 31st July, and the UNICEF, then me as a CSO country focal, the SWA, the learning and research and learning focal is also with them. And in total, actually, in a total of we organized, that is, we facilitated, the government organized, the preparatory meeting, and that is in, I think, on 24th, yesterday they hold a meeting, and about 40 participants were there, and the participants are like, the government people, the UN functionaries, INGO, research institutes, WASH service provider, CSO. So that was the the first second preparatory meeting for SMM, like that to develop the that is the country self-assessment documents. Before that, on 16th, we sat with the government people to form two subcommittee. One is for country position paper, and another one is for the self-assessment document. And then third meeting will be held on 28th. And before that, the bilateral, you can say we can say that more than 4 bilateral we held along with, headed by the PSB, the focal of WASH policies reformation from assigned by the local government ministry. And during July, August, and September, we had the bilateral for SMA preparation process. And 2 workshops we already held, 16th and 24th, and another will be held on next Sunday, that is on 28th, for finalize the country position paper and SWA, that is self-assessment document that will be vetted from the government side, and we are supposed to, we are planning to submit it to the SW Secretariat by 10th October. About the MAM, the mutual accountability mechanism, the commitment was revised, and the revision version has been reflected in the self-assessment documents. Next. Learnings. Actually, in the CSA, it was observed during the CSR that climate resilience WASH needs to be mainstreamed. Since Bangladesh is the most vulnerable country, very few activities are in practice at project level, but that should be mainstreamed. We hope that that will happen in coming days. Bangladesh has tremendously achieved the MDGA, but considering the SDG indicator, that is safely managed sanitation and safe drinking water, we are still we are still in challenging to address the SDG 6.1 and 6.2. So, but government has initiated different mega projects to address the challenges, and some of projects has already started. And another thing is that I like to add here, because in COP and the Paris Agreement, the WASH.
Masood, I'm really sorry, because you also said that you wanted to invite somebody else to speak, and we have now under 30 minutes before we finish. So I don't think there will even be a chance for somebody else to speak, to present additional information on the case of Bangladesh. Could you?
I have 2 points.
Yes, please.
One is that WASH sector is ignored in COP and Paris Agreement, and finally, the WASH has been intervened in the revised NDC in our country, and I think if 1 or 2 minutes you give me, you allow me, then I can request Monir Bhai.
So could you put in the chat the name of the colleague that you wanted to speak, because I think that colleague is on the attendees list. Meanwhile, we'll get the last intervention from the constituencies in terms of the preparatory process, and if we have time, we will come back to that.
Okay.
But
Thank
for
you.
now,
Thank you.
I'm going to invite to the floor a colleague from UTS Australia to give us a short intervention just to showcase what some of that preparatory process has been from the Research and Learning constituency. And this will be from Timothy Collitz of the University of Technology, Sydney. If you could make your intervention short, this call is a 90 minutes webinar, so we have about 27 minutes to go. We would like to share also information about logistics before we close. So over to you, Timothy. And Masood, if you could just put in the chat the name of the colleague you mentioned, if we have time to come back to that.
Godara put in the chat.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Timothy, over to you.
Timothy has sent
Jeremy, sorry.
Jeremy, yeah, he sent a video, so I'll just...
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Collitz, and I am a researcher at the Institute for Sustainable Futures at the University of Technology, Sydney in Australia. And I was unable to make the webinar today, but I'm hoping to meet many of you at the Sector Ministers meeting next month. This presentation, I'm going to speak briefly about what I see as the role of research organizations in the Sector Ministers meeting. Before I talk about why research organizations are important, I want to talk more broadly about the significance of multi-stakeholder engagement platforms. I'm actually taking this slide from content that came from an output that the SWA helped support on strengthening multi-stakeholder engagement and mutual accountability in WASH. There's many benefits of multi-stakeholder engagements, and these lessons actually came from the national level, but I think they're applicable to international platforms like the Sector Ministers meeting. So for one, when we bring in many different stakeholders and diverse stakeholders, whether they be governments, NGOs, research organizations, rights holder organizations, or others, we're building social capital and relationships with one another. And we can use those to leverage action in the future because we all bring our own different strengths and resources. We come from diverse backgrounds, we have different things that we bring to bear that can create meaningful action on the ground. And it's a really great opportunity to really leverage the available resources that are available at each country and across countries. It's important to have diverse groups because when we maximize participation and consultation, we're less likely to have blind spots and look over critical areas. And I think this is really important when it comes to climate change resilience, which is one of the dialogues that I'm very interested in. and that climate change transcends so many spaces, and it really is easy to overlook important aspects of climate resilient WASH. But when you have diverse groups, you're less likely to have those blind spots. We can foster common approaches and come up with more cohesive and coherent ways of tackling challenges. The SWA has already done some good work in this space in terms of defining a definition of climate resilient WASH and coming up with a commonality of a common way of addressing the challenges that climate change poses for WASH. And I know that the process for developing that definition was highly consultative and involved many diverse inputs from different professionals around the world. And then finally, platforms like these are very useful for identifying key priorities and challenges, of which there are many, but we need to come with some consensus on identifying priority pathways. Otherwise, we don't have a coherent way to go forward. The report also identified several enablers of good, effective multi-stakeholder engagement, and a lot of these are really relevant to what we're seeing for the sector ministers meeting. It includes having a shared vision and purpose, which I think we're seeking to achieve by the end of the meeting, clear collaborative processes and mechanisms for collaborating with one another, and leadership from governments is really important. So I think a lot of those elements are already present in the sector ministers meeting, and I think this is why broad multi-stakeholder engagement, including not just research organizations, but other organizations, are really important. And we can really maximize each of these benefits if we put careful thought into how we can achieve each of these bullet points on the slide. Now focusing on research organizations and why I think it's important for them to be involved in multi-stakeholder engagements like the sector ministers meeting. And in this slide, I'm going to outline 3 reasons. One is I think that at high-level meetings like this, the decisions and the understanding of sector performance and progress and the commitments made have to be informed by sound evidence and analysis. Now, that's not to say that governments and NGOs and other actors won't make decisions based on evidence and analysis if research organizations are not present. But of course, researchers have skills and abilities in terms of digesting and disseminating the latest thinking coming from literature, journal publications that are often across the latest data, the latest thinking in certain areas that they can share with other stakeholders. And there's a real strong opportunity to do teamwork in terms of translating the evidence into practice. Because while researchers often have skills in interpreting the latest trends and data that's available, they don't always have the applied knowledge of how it would actually be put into practice. So that's where the engagement of different parties comes into play. And researchers obviously have an important role, but other actors, NGOs, governments are critical for working alongside research organizations to turn that into meaningful action. I think this is the #1 reason, and far and away the most important one. A second reason is that research organizations can bring credibility and legitimacy to the decisions and the agreed upon actions at the meeting. Now, I don't think it's necessarily true that research organizations have more credibility or more legitimacy just because they're armed with facts and figures that come from journal papers. I think knowledge comes from diverse places, and those other knowledge bases can be just as credible or legitimate as the type of knowledge that research organizations bring. But rather, I think this is a product of multi-stakeholder engagement, that when you have diverse inputs and diverse knowledge bases, that builds credibility and legitimacy. And there is a bit of truth that the public perception is that researchers are often more credible and legitimate, even if that's not necessarily true. So when when agreements are made from the sector ministers meeting, if it's known that research organizations were involved, there might be a bit more trust from the public if they knew that some of those decisions were informed by evidence and the latest thinking. And then finally, taking this idea from a colleague at SWA who mentioned that research organizations can have an important role in monitoring and tracking commitments. And I hope that is something that we're able to do after the event, is use research skills in collecting data to be able to track and make sure that the agreements that come from the meeting are implemented to good effect. And then just quickly, I would like to share what my own team is doing to prepare for the sector ministers meeting. I'm personally really excited about this event to learn about how progress in water and sanitation is made at the highest levels. Across my career, I've had the opportunity to see how progress is made at community levels, at organization levels, at local and national government levels. And I've personally written a lot about policy, but I'd love to learn more and see about how progress is made at these high-level discussions. And I'm really excited to bring my own experience and those of my teammates. We work in transdisciplinary research, so we have a lot of exposure to learnings from different disciplines, different scales, and we're hoping to bring that to bear at the sector ministers meeting. In terms of preparing for the event, we're doing consultations within my own team at the Institute for Sustainable Futures on the guiding questions, particularly the ones related to climate change resilience. We'll try to craft some key messages that we want to share and have some good resources on hand that we think would be of interest to the people attending the event. And I understand we'll have an opportunity to do some brief interventions to speak during the dialogues. So we'll work a lot on crafting our short pitches on the things that we think are really important. And then after the event with my team, we'll be having a debrief on the event. We'll communicate the outcomes outside of our organization, including the compact. And we'll discuss our follow-up actions that we want to take in the organization to maximize the impact of the sector ministers meeting. And of course, we're also engaging with the other organizations who are involved as research organizations to learn how we can work together to create the greatest impact at the sector ministers meeting. So thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is
Thank you so much. We appreciate that insight from University of Technology, Sydney, in terms of how the research and learning constituency, from their perspective, how they're engaging in the preparatory process. I know most of you will be participants at the meeting in Madrid next month, or you are supporting your ministers. And you're very keen to get information that's extremely relevant for the delegates and for the participants. So I will ask my colleague Kevin to come to the floor and just provide some detailed information for the participants. And then that should bring us also to just some additional information on communications. If you've got questions, once again, for the speakers that we've heard already so far, please do put that in the chat. I do not see any questions, so we haven't paused for any conversation. But at this point, Kevin, over to you to give us key information for participants and delegates.
Thank you so much, Sitali, and thank you to all the speakers that have gone before. Yes, as Sitali said, this is the important information that we need in terms of participation and a range of things. I think, let me start off then, colleagues, by just situating, of course, where we are. We, as you know, have done 4 of these webinars during the year. We've gone through quite a lot of these. And where we are right now for most countries really is this ministerial brief and dialogue. This is the kind of the end of the tip of the spear, as it were. This is where all your country overviews are completed and the ministerial briefings begin. If, of course, your country has more than one minister, normally there's that last kind of in-country meeting. There are, of course, still some partners who are doing their workshops, so we are available, as always, to support them to get those country overviews completed, the MAM revisions and the like. I'm not going to go too much into this because we can go that. At the moment, the key thing for me to announce is that we have a logistics note which is prepared. You can access it on the website in the language of your choice. And the logistics note, of course, has the key information around the venue, hotels that you could stay close to, of course, transportation and other information. I'm not going to obviously go into all the details of that. It's quite a lengthy document, but it is available on the website. It will also be shared with all of you after this meeting. So with that, Sitali, I'm happy to hand back to you because I think there's a more exciting announcement from our comms colleagues. Unless there are questions which I can pick up in the chat. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. Maybe let me just add on some of the logistics information. For those who are participating, please do read these documents. We've got information there about hotels. There are a number of hotels which if you book through the links that are in the logistics note, and depending on how many people who have at these hotels, the government of Spain would then provide a shuttle from those hotels to the venue. So please do take a look. And for those working on visas, please do that as soon as possible. We already reached out in the last few weeks. If you needed help with visas, there's some information that was required as of yesterday. And if you did not provide that information, but you do need visa support, please, we have only today to receive that information. And if you need any help on that, please do let us know by reaching out to the respective secretariat contact person. I'll invite my colleague Alicia right now at this time to share with us just some of the engagement opportunities for communications. Alicia, over to you.
Thank you, Stali. I hope you can hear me well. So greetings from Madrid, from a very sunny Madrid today. I hope it's the same in a month. I want to talk about the app. Next slide, please. I'm sure a lot of you know that most conferences and events nowadays use apps because that helps the process run better for both attendees on your side and organizers on our side. So this is why, to enhance this year's experience, we are introducing this event app. This app is going to help us as organizers to be more efficient in terms of time and expenses, but also it will allow attendees to have a greater SMM experience. So how will the app be used? You can see in the screen there is a screenshot of the homepage of the app. But then once you have the link to download it, and I'll talk about that later, you will be able to explore a bit more and see all the functionalities. But the most relevant ones is that attendees will be able to see the event agenda in their preferred language, so either English, Spanish, French, or Portuguese. People will be able to organize their own personal meeting schedule, take notes about all the sessions, and you'll be able also to find the floor map of the venue there, speaker's bio. There's also the opportunity to access relevant documents and slides that will be shared by organizers or by other speakers. And then you will be able to receive last minute updates and announcements, which is very handy in case something changes last minute. We don't need to send documents or update any website. Everything will be done directly via the app. And then one of the most important features that a lot of people have expressed that works really well is that you'll be able to connect and network with other participants by looking at their profiles. You'll be able to message them. You'll be able to ask for a coffee meeting, or you can also share photos or videos of the event. And that is all done by the community board. That works quite well. So yeah, we hope that everybody is going to enjoy using this app. All of this will be accessible a few days before the event for a few weeks afterwards. So the momentum of the SMM will continue even after you have left Madrid. And now, next slide, please. So even if we truly encourage everyone to use the app, and for that we are going to share the download link next week, we are aware that not everyone might want to use it. So please scan this QR code to access our WhatsApp channel. And also we will be providing information and updates via the website. So yeah, we have different communications channels, but please do download the app for the event, and do let us know if you have any questions or any feedback. We're all ears. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Alicia. So we'll check if we have any questions before we begin to wrap up the webinar. So we're really excited to have the app. It's the first time, of course, we're doing this, but we also think that it will give us a lot of flexibility in terms of providing information, and it will also allow participants to connect. In the event a participant is unable to download the app for whatever reasons, we should be able to facilitate some of the things that are required for them to be able to participate. So we'll just pause to see if we have any questions. At this point, I don't see any questions in the chat. So we're grateful, of course, to all the partners that have supported this process. Patrick mentioned a number of them, our co-conveners, our host, the government of Spain. Could we go back to the previous slide? Our host, the government of Spain, our co-convener, UNICEF, and also we have a high-level political dialogue work group which has had a task team that has been working on the agenda and the concept note for the meeting, and different partners who've been working also at country level, supporting governments to prepare for the meeting. We're so grateful. What you see on the screen are SWA donors. We're also grateful to them for making this possible. And we've had some partners that have contributed a bit more, either in supporting ministers to travel or in being delivery partners of SWA in our entire work plan. And that's the next slide, where we have different partners that are also contributing either to travel for ministers or for constituency delegates. We are grateful to these as well. So we will move. I do not see any questions, so I hope everything has been clear. Please do use the logistics note for any additional information. And then if there are any questions, contact your respective secretariat contact person. I'm sorry we're unable to come back to the additional speaker that Masood, you had wanted from Bangladesh, but we hope that what you shared was as comprehensive as it can be. In the interest of time, we'll move to the closing of this informational webinar. And we're glad to have UNICEF, who's our co-convener, to close the webinar. And I'll ask Farai to come to the floor and provide us some closing remarks.
Yes, thank you, Sitali. And it's really great to be here and deliver this closing remarks on behalf of our WASH Director, Cecilia Sharp. On behalf of UNICEF, it is really a pleasure for me to deliver the closing reflections for this preparatory webinar for the SMM. Today's dialogue has been very rich, practical, but also very forward-looking. We have heard from governments and partners on the ongoing processes that are happening within the different constituencies. And this has really shown us that we have strong momentum for integration, and this is continuing to grow between all of us. Across regions and constituencies, we have heard from the governments and partners that are preparing for Madrid, how water and sanitation are entering the climate dialogues and the NDC revisions currently ongoing at country level, how ministries are coordinating across sectors, and how political leadership is being mobilized to break the silos and build resilience. This is exactly the kind of energy that we need when we look and are heading into the 2025 sector ministers meeting. So this SMM is going to be more than a meeting. It is going to be a political moment and a space for countries to share their commitments, to shape global dialogue, and to strengthen coordination and collaboration. And at the heart of this moment will be the launch of the Global Leaders Compact on water security and resilience. This compact is not just a declaration. It is a high-level political commitment to integrate WASH, water resources management, and climate adaptation into national strategies, to strengthen public systems and inclusive governance for WASH, to mobilize sustainable finance for domestic, donor, and blended resources, and to promote accountability and peer learning through measurable targets and regional coordination. This compact will be built on the Head of State initiative, aligning with the African Union's 2026 summit and theme on water and sanitation, and it will provide a unified framework for leadership, reform, and accelerated progress towards universal access and resilience. Madrid is not the end, it is just the beginning. The compact will feed directly into the UN Water Conference preparatory meetings in Dakar in January 2026, where countries will align their ambitions for the global stage. It will reinforce UNICEF's Africa strategy, which places climate resilient water, sanitation, and hygiene at the heart of child survival and development in this very young continent. And it will also help shape the 2026 African Union Summit, which will officially focus on assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems. So this is really a historic opportunity to elevate WASH to the highest level and make it a top political priority across the continent. In closing, allow me to thank you, not only for your participation today, but for the leadership that you continue to demonstrate in your countries and your constituencies. Your efforts are shaping the future of the sector ministers meeting. They are shaping the future of integration, and ultimately they are shaping the future of children. UNICEF remains deeply committed to walking this path with you through policy dialogue, technical support, and strong partnerships. Now is the time to act. We urge all partners to work closely with their ministers and the heads of state to ensure that they sign the Global Compact, because this is how we can move forward from ambition to action, to water and sanitation at the lowest level where it is needed. So from fragmentation to resilience, and from today's conversation to Madrid, to Dakar, to Addis Ababa, and far beyond. Thank you very much, and we really look forward to seeing all of you at the SMM in Madrid. Back to you, Sitali.
Thank you, Farai. I would like to thank you, of course, for the closing remarks, but also to thank all our speakers today, starting with our steering committee chair, Mr. Moriarty at the beginning, who really set the scene for this, putting this conversation in the broader pieces that the theme of the meeting really connects on the system-wide approach that we need to be thinking about, linking this also to other core processes that are going on around COP, UN Water Conference next year, and also tying the high-level leaders compact as a key outcome of this process and how that will contribute to future work. And of course, also delivering thanks to the government of Spain and UNICEF, the co-hosts and conveners, the host and co-conveners for the meeting. Thanks also to Josefina for your remarks, encouraging us on the country preparatory process and also on the mutual accountability mechanism. And you also tapped into the Leaders Compact that we're working on. We've heard from the government of Nigeria, government of Cambodia. We've heard from the CSOs and also input from Liberia, Bangladesh, and Australia from the different constituencies. And we've closed with information coming on the that is necessary for participants. And thanks to Anjani for the information also on the agenda, on the content preparation. We've ended with the launch or with the information about the event app. So look forward to receiving the link to downloading the app so that every participant can be able to have the app and use it at the meeting. Thanks, Farai, for closing us with the really key remarks to inspire us for the next action. So we are grateful to everyone and looking forward to seeing you in Madrid, those that will be traveling. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.